All right, so I'll start today off with a little bit of story. Something that happened just about a month or two ago. I play in an adult ice hockey league. It's a Christian league. We play every Sunday, Sunday evening. And so, it's mostly guys. It's probably 95% guys. I play in the upper division. There's two divisions in this league. There's a bronze and a silver. So I play in the upper division, silver one. There's maybe like three girls in the whole league. There's five teams in our division, each of which has maybe like 13 players, 14, 15 players, somewhere in that ballpark. There's like three girls total, four girls total, or something like that. Two of which are on the same team. Um, they're both very good players on that team. This team, there's a very close parity between our teams. It's always a very close game, and they're two of their better players. Clearly, both of them played when they were younger. You can tell who in this league played when they were a kid and who didn't, who started when they were an adult, just because of the way they skate and the way they play. There's an obvious difference. If you have the eye for it, if you've played as long as I have, you can tell. But this one girl who's the younger of the two, she's maybe in her like 30s or something like that, which is pretty young for the league, on the younger side. She's one of their best players on their team. She can move. She's strong on her skates. She honestly plays pretty physical. There's no checking in this league, so hockey's a physical sport. There's going to be some contact, but there's no body checking. You're not allowed to like purposefully hit somebody. But there, it's hockey. There's some bumping and stuff, and she plays chippier than most. Chippier. She gets in there. She's not afraid. Um, well, we were playing them, and I was playing defense this game, and so me and my D partner, and so I'm kind of in front of the net. I'm maybe 10, 15 feet away from them. The puck gets squirted into our corner, and so our one of our defensemen and her are like right beside each other, and they start like racing for the puck in the corner, which is a pretty normal occurrence. They're probably similar speed when they're both going full stride, and so they're full racing for this. Well, I have a perfect view from behind. I'm maybe 10 or 15 feet behind. One of the guy on our team, an aggressive player. They're kind of like shoulder to shoulder on each other. He gives her a little hip bump, as they're coming into the boards, which is not too weird. It was maybe a touch on the aggressive side considering it's a no checking league, but I don't think it was too atrocious or anything like that. Maybe something deserving of a penalty, but certainly I've seen far, far worse. But her legs just go completely out from under her, just completely out from under her, and she just goes face first right into the boards. And she was that perfect sweet spot distance from the boards, where if she was any closer to the boards when this happened and her feet out went out from under her, she would just hit the boards. I'm sure it wouldn't feel good, but she wouldn't be hurt. And if she was any further away from the boards, she would have landed on the ice first and had time to brace herself before she slid into the boards, which would have taken away a lot of the impact. She was at that perfect sweet spot that like she was like mid fall, and she was kind of like spinning a little bit, maybe because she was already kind of jockeying with him a little bit for like position, so who could get first touch on the puck. But she just goes face first, and she had no time. She like got one hand up like this, but that was about it to try and stop herself from hitting the boards. And the way her like body like recoiled off the boards, the way like her back like almost bent like back towards itself, like tailbone towards her head. I could tell immediately when she hit the boards, like, ooh, she hurt her back. That was bad. Like that just the way her body recoiled off the boards looked terrible. I've seen lots of falls and hits and stuff, but this was by far the worst. The hit wasn't really too bad. I mean, it was maybe, like I said, a touch aggressive, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like a full on body check. He just gave her a little hip bump as they're going to the boards, and her legs just go right from under her. But yeah, the way she hit those boards was the worst I've ever seen in adult hockey by far. And so she just landed on the ice there for a while, and I'm kneeling nearby, and I'm whispering to the guy next to me, I'm like, I think she hurt her back. Like the way the way her body just reacted off those words did not look right, did not look natural. So I was like, I think she hurt herself. She actually manages to get up on her own. She just lays there for a couple of minutes. Some of her own skaters come over. The other girl on her team comes over and helps her. She actually gets up on her own, starts to go to the bench, and then she leaves the ice and goes to the locker room. And so, we weren't sure what was up. Our guy got like the guy who bumped into her going into the boards got like I think a 10-minute major boarding penalty, but wasn't like thrown out of the game or anything. So you got I think a 10-minute major and a 2-minute minor. And so this was like early in the second period, I think. And so, yeah, we're all, the game goes on. We see the paramedics arrive. We see the fire department arrive, and they've got like a stretcher, and they wheel it into the locker room. And she actually, we were like, oh crap, like, I've never seen the paramedics come. Like, I've heard of it, but never seen that happen. And so I eventually, like, by around the middle of the third period, I see her walking out. Like I'm on the bench at this moment, and I just happen to see her walking out. She's got her arm in a sling. And so apparently they got word from the paramedics there, and it kind of made its way back to us by the end of the game that she had broken her wrist and had a concussion. And that's all of what they thought it was. Now, obviously that's not good, but to be completely honest with you, like whenever I heard that, I was like, that's actually not bad. Considering how bad her fall was, like a broken wrist and a concussion, it could have been so much worse. Like the way her back recoiled looks like she messed something up. So when I just heard it was wrist and a head concussion, I was like, okay, that's, that's not good. That's bad. But like, I think she may have gotten off good with that. But turns out she went to the ER and spent the night getting scans and stuff, and she fractured like 2 vertebrae in her neck, which is pretty amazing that she was able to just walk it off on her own. The fact that she literally broke her neck. And yeah, she, apparently she's been kind of struggling to get better about it. Apparently, they put some plates in her wrist, and apparently her wrist has been doing much better, but her neck apparently is causing problems at her work, and how she, she's just having neck pains, and it's causing mobility issues and things like that, which is just horrible. The guy on our team, I'm not going to say his name, but he felt so bad about it that, like, he served the 10-minute, he spent 12 minutes in the box. By the time he gets out, I think it's around the beginning of the third period, he gets to the bench, and I'm sitting next to him, and he's like, he just doesn't want to play. He just doesn't want to go out there. And I'm like, we're already a little bit shorthanded. So, I do a shift or two, and I'm like, hey man, if you want to get out there, like, like we could use the extra manpower. I'm getting pretty gassed here. And he's just like, I just don't want to play, man. Like, he looks distraught. Like the look on his face is bad. Like, he's just like, I don't want to play. I feel terrible. And so he just, a few minutes later, about halfway through the third, he just left. He just left the ice, went to the locker room, and then just packed up his stuff and left before we even made it back to the locker room after the game. And he didn't play for like 4 or 5 games. He felt so bad. He just refused to come back and play. Eventually, a couple of games ago, he did come back, and we've seen him play a few times since, and he seems to be not in too bad a shape. But man, he was taking it really hard. Especially after, I think maybe he would have returned the next week or 2 weeks later or something, had we not heard later that she literally broke her neck. I think that really messed with him up, because he felt bad with just not even knowing how she was hurt. And then I'm sure once he heard that she broke her wrist and a concussion and broke her neck, that he felt terrible. And so, yeah, that was pretty wild. To see some lady just break her neck like that, like 10 feet, 15 feet in front of me. Cause like I was on the edge of the corner, like supporting them. I was ready to see, if my fellow defenseman and my D partner beat her to the puck and like, shot it back towards behind her net or something, I would be in position to get to it and whatever. But yeah, that was really bad. And so, I hope just the best for her. I hope that she's able to recover, and eventually get back to playing. I originally heard that she would be cleared by August to come back and play, but I also heard just yesterday that she's not healing as quickly as she would hoped, and that she's still kind of experiencing pain and discomfort and all that stuff. So I'm just hoping the best for her and her family, and that she gets better as quickly as possible, and hopefully someday, if she wants, get back on the ice, because she's a great player and clearly played when she was younger, and she's one of the best players on their team, and yeah, so just a pretty wild story. Don't see that every day.